Hello, this is Sierra and welcome to another video. Today we're doing another Minecraft video. No, we're not doing a Minecraft video. We're doing another story, another chapter or two in Hermitcraft Season Clockwork. We are on episode 4, chapter 17 right now. And yeah, get right into it. If you haven't read the other chapters, be sure you do so because spoilers. And if you want to know more about the story of the Clockwork Chronicles, there are playlists to all the books and short stories on my channel if you want to check it out, so you don't have to. But yeah, they've been there. I've shared them, and let's get right on in. Grian was wide awake, bound up once again on the cot. Unable to sleep, his mind plagued by the memories of the past week or so. Had it been a week? Or a few weeks? He'd lost track of time, since Mr. A didn't always ask for him every single day. So he had no judge of time. Not even the autumn leaves from the trees falling to the ground could tell him an exact time. He'd gone to various different worlds and watched as people were tortured and tormented, unable to stop it. Unable to bear hearing it any longer. It's like a movie he couldn't turn off. He was trapped. Mr. A was trying to break him, little by little. He had to admit, though he hated to admit it, it was working. He dreaded going out to see that machine, hating having to see everyone panicking and not knowing what to do, being helpless to stop it, wondering whether or not he could ever go back to his original innocence ever again. He was terrified, still visualizing many of the moments in his mind, plagued by their hopeless screams for help. He didn't want to close his eyes. Didn't think he'd be able to sleep at all anymore. There's too much death and destruction, and he wanted nothing to do with it. What more could he do now? He let out a long sigh as he stared up at the ceiling, wondering what his friends would do in this situation. He knew he couldn't give up hope, especially knowing his friends wouldn't give up looking for him. They didn't know what he'd seen, though. What he'd witnessed. How could he hope when he was watching other people's worlds fall apart? Seeing them hopelessly watching in horror as their friends, families, and livelihoods even were destroyed. He felt just as broken and shattered as they did, not sure what to do himself. He needed to get out of here, but he was completely exhausted. He was tired, so not tired. He knew sleep wouldn't take away the pain he felt deep down. The dread of knowing Mr. A was trying everything he could do to bring him down until he had nothing, just as he knew the man had done to people before. Based on Eddie's accounts, it wasn't pleasant. He was terrified. He needed his friends, but as every day passed, he wondered if they'd ever come. His thoughts were interrupted when he heard a click on the door. Looking over to see a soldier holding what appeared to be a bowl of soup. Grian immediately scrunched up his nose at the stench. "Don't look at me like that," the maid scowled back as he put the bowl on a nearby table, going down tied to YouTuber's hands. "You need to eat. Mr. A's orders." "I'm not hungry," Grian stated, though it was a complete lie. He was starving, but he didn't want to eat any more of whatever that soup was. It's horrible. "Don't make me force feed you again," the man scolded coldly. "I'm not afraid to make you suffer more than you have to." Grian shook his head slowly. "Why are we even doing this? What will happen when Mr. A doesn't need me anymore?" "Well, if you care to know, it might be soon," the guard said plainly. He set aside the rope and turned for the bowl of soup. Grian glanced over his ankles, which were still bound to the cot, wondering if he'd have enough time to unbind them and escape. Unlikely, but it was an idea. The man turned back and handed the YouTuber the bowl. Grian sighed, holding back a reflex to gag as he slowly sipped on the contents. Somehow tasted far worse than it smelled, and he almost wanted to barf it all up on the floor. He held it in now, knowing he'd regret it if he did tap in front of the men. He'd already suffered one mild beating. He was about to go through another. Grian could feel the guard watching him non-stop until he finished the final sip, handing back the bowl. I feel a little sick from eating that. You'll be fine in a little bit. Relax, the guard said as he rolled his eyes, putting the bowl aside as he grabbed the YouTuber's wrists and bound them back to the cot with the rope. There, nice and secure. Do you know what's going on out there? What happened to my friends? Grian asked quickly. Don't need to know, the man replied, simply, as he stood up, carrying the bowl towards the door. Please, Grian begged. I just want to know if they're okay. Well, Mr. A doesn't, the guard surmised. I abide by the rules. Grian watched sadly as the door closed once more, hearing it lock firmly as footsteps faded, leaving him once again alone, queasy and frustrated. Why was Mr. A doing this? Why was he trying to make it as difficult as possible for him? What was his leading up to? When would this finally be over? Grian shook his head, brushing the thought out of his mind. He couldn't let those men take him down like this. He couldn't give up, even though he didn't know if his friend had given up on him either. Maybe the cause already assumed he was dead and told his friends to leave well enough alone. Let him go. No? Not yet, anyway. Sort of not knowing what was going on past these walls was what scared him. What if his friends had given up? Would that mean he'd die alone with whatever Mr. A planned for him to do? How much longer could he last like this? He'd already felt like he'd hit his limit. What more could Mr. A do to ruin him? He wasn't sure how much time had passed. Could have been minutes, hours, days, weeks. And he wouldn't even know. He'd managed to get a little bit of sleep. Still felt just as exhausted, drained as he had before. Flashbacks decided to fade away for the time being, though. He tried to think about his friends. The good times they had. Rather than the horrible things the man had made him go through. He remembered him and his friends playing games, like tag, golf, and other simple, not so simple games. It was a blast all around. Memories shared, friendships deepening. It was a wonderful time that he wasn't sure he'd be able to go back to, if he ever would, since clearly the end had to be near. He didn't know still. He still didn't know what that meant, but he knew he couldn't hold on for much longer. I wish you were here, he whispered quietly, knowing he wasn't really speaking to anyone in particular. He missed his friends, their encouragements and pranks, sometimes a little bit of trolling. He missed the little inside jokes they shared, or the individual events that they worked on together. He wanted to go back, wanted to be there instead of here, wanted to go home. But he wasn't sure if he'd ever be able to now. It felt bittersweet. He closed his eyes at last, finally being able to sleep once more. His mind filled with happier memories as he slept, dreaming of silliness to had, everything nice, as if he was there. He wanted it to last forever, forgetting about the reality of what was happening, and he may never see his friends again. This was enough for him to rest in the hope that still might not be too late. There was still hope. Chapter 18. Grian was slowly awoken by someone shaking him gently. He opened his eyes groggily as he looked up, half expecting to see one of his friends there. It wasn't any of them, though. Just one of Mr. Hayes' soldiers. You certainly slept well, better than I've seen in a while, the man mused with a light chuckle. The lightheartedness quickly faded as he added, Mr. A is waiting for you. I forgot. Whatever. What does he want now? Grian asked, unsure. He wanted to know the answer to that. You'll see it soon enough, the man replied simply, as he untied the YouTuber from the bed and secured him properly before shoving him towards the cell door. Trust me when I say, you don't want to miss it. I'd rather miss it, to be honest with you, he replied wearily. You don't have that choice, the man said coldly as he was guided toward the dark oak door that he'd seen too many times than he'd like to count. The man's pace was quick as Grian struggled to keep up with him, or he'd fall because the man was pushing him so much. He couldn't slow down. He didn't have time to think about what the men could possibly want from him. As the door was opened and they walked up the stairs to the surface, and the YouTuber blinked several times, staring at the portal, his bright white light almost blinding him. Is he ready to go? One of the men asked, his tone harsh. He's ready, the man holding him said simply. Now, is Mr. A ready for him? Of course, the other man retorted. He turned to face the YouTuber with a cold smile. This goes well. This will be our final goodbye. Grian swallowed, saying nothing, as the man holding him pushed him towards the portal. Part of him wanted to fight back, to try to get away, but he knew it was no use. The man wouldn't let him get far before he'd be recaptured again. He closed his eyes as he felt the portal consuming him once more. The man holding on tight to him, as if daring him to try to pull away. Where else would he go? Where else could he go? He didn't know, but he didn't like the odds against him right now. Time was running out. He stumbled on damp grass, opening his eyes to find himself somewhere familiar, for once. A place he'd been to before. No, it couldn't be. He felt his blood run cold as realization struck him. This wasn't just any other town anymore. Not just any old settlement. This was his home. This was where his fellow hermits lived. Why were they here now? Had his friends been able to return to this place while he was gone? What had he missed? What was the man planning to do? Assuming you know exactly where we are. Mr. A's voice mused over to his left. The YouTuber looked over to see the man standing by the machine, which seemed a little bit larger than he last remembered it. A little bit taller than the last time as well. There was a flat area on the machine's back as well, probably to help make the hatch that entered the machine easier to use. Why are you doing this? Grian asked. I thought you'd be happy to see your friends again, the man replied, tilting his head curiously. Not like this, Grian whispered, shaking his head. The man chuckled. You should know better that I don't do simple reunions for nothing. Sometimes friends never get to see each other ever again. This time, though, you'll be able to see them, but they won't know you're even in there until it's too late. What do you mean by too late? Grian pressed nervously. The machine will keep attacking until it's destroyed, the man replied. It will most likely destroy you along with it, and your friends will have no idea. Now that's a tragic ending. Grian swallowed and shook his head. I'm not doing it. You don't have a choice, YouTuber, the man, Mr. A replied coldly. Do I have a choice, though? Grian tested. Everyone deserves to have a choice whether or not they want to live or die. I'm not about to watch my friends die while you sit back and enjoy the show. Sure you don't want to, the man agreed. But you're under my rules, so you do as I say. You're going in that machine, and if I so choose, can make sure you suffer 3 times more than you deserve. No one deserves this, Grian admitted quietly. Your kind deserves whatever is coming to you. Grian, the man replied coldly. I'll make sure you and your friends suffer. It means getting what I want. You won't get away with this, Grian argued, as the man gestured for his captor to take him into the machine. We shall see if I do. But by that point, you'll probably be dead. The man said firmly, a dark smile forming on his face as Grian was pushed into the machine and strapped in, the wires being attached to the straps until he was secure. He had no way of getting out of this now. Mr. A would see that, and he wasn't sure he'd like the sound of it either, as the hatch closed behind him, locking in place as he heard the familiar hum of the machine as it sprung to life, wincing in anticipation for the inevitable pain that would come. Sure enough, the needle-piercing pain began as he felt the machine stand. Looking up at the view he could see, tinted by the window before him as the machine began to head towards the town. It wasn't necessarily fast right now, but he knew once it found a target, it would not let go of that target until it either was dead or unreachable. He could hear the machine tearing through the trees, sometimes breaking them cleanly in half as they fell into the other trees, or to the path behind them, blocking any way of escape through the portal. Grian looked around at the area, knowing the clearing was up ahead. He suddenly spotted something about 30 meters away. No, not something. Someone. 2 someones. No, Grian whispered quietly as he heard the machine turn his head and lock onto its targets. He could just about see the figures ahead as he swallowed. 2 girls laughing, wandering about. Were they alone? He couldn't really tell. Seeing them, though, broke him. He missed his friends. He also knew what this machine was capable of. A surge of pain erupted within him as he gasped, watching as the machine gained speed toward the unsuspecting girls. He tried to cry out in warning, but he knew they couldn't hear him. He knew they wouldn't be able to. Pulse! Stress! Behind you! Grian shouted, trying to hopefully get their attention. Sure enough, though, they had heard the machine. Stress grabbed Pulse by the arm and dragged her away. Both of them running, their voices panicked as they headed for the clearing. What is that thing? You could hear Pulse asking quickly, terror in her tone. Neither of them had seen anything like it. I don't know, Stress admitted. We can't stay here, though. Grian looked up as he heard the humming of the laser as it warmed up, his heart racing as he knew what it was going to happen. He shook his head slowly, not sure who the machine was going for. He looked back down to see 2 new figures having stepped in the machine's way, telling the girls to go to the bunker and send a distress signal. The men appeared to be in the uniform known for the cause. Grian wasn't so necessarily surprised by this as the machine blasted, just barely missing its friends as they disappeared. The machine was momentarily blocked by the 2 men before charging right through them. Grian hearing their pained screams as the machine ran over them. Grian winced, not wanting to imagine what had happened. Were they okay? Hopefully his 2 friends had got to safety in time. Grian continued to watch as it charged toward where his friends had run off to, sensing their auras just as they arrived at what appeared to be a small building. The machine swung one of its arms, smashing down the front wall completely as he heard a scream. Down here, Stress said quickly, as Grian just about saw them slip down a ladder down a small hole, closing the trapdoor behind her as they descended. The machine attempted to follow, looking down as Grian knew full well what it was planning to do. Oh, no, you don't! Another voice hollered, as they heard what sounded like someone on wings. Something slammed onto the machine's back as it lurched backwards, swinging its arm around to try to throw the new arrival off it. Suddenly he heard a grunt of pain as the machine rammed against something, the machine turning to reveal someone else. It wasn't someone from the cause, though. No! Gray shouted as he watched the machine reaching for the injured YouTuber who was attempting to get away. Still stunned by the impact as she managed to dodge the claw, the machine turned to go after her as she launched a rocket and took to the skies, flying over it. Can't get to me now, can you? She taunted, shooting arrows at the thing while still midair. Yes, I can, Grian said quietly, dread filling him as he tightened his fist, waiting for it to fire. He couldn't see the person flying anymore, since his view was limited, but he knew Mr. A probably was, and he'd make sure the thing wouldn't miss. Sure enough, the laser fired, and he heard a distant scream of pain from above as he saw the YouTuber fall to the ground, one side of her just grazing the laser, but it had lost her momentum enough. She groaned in pain as she struggled to stand. Cleo! A voice shouted from somewhere in the machine to the machine's right as the machine went over to the injured YouTuber. Grian watched in surprise as another man in the same camouflage uniform ran forward to block a claw attack from the machine with a shield. You okay? He'll live, she said weakly, managing to sit up. Grian could see more figures coming in their direction. You need to get down to the bunker and get medical help fast, the man said simply, somehow managing to hold off the machine relatively well. Grian watched as he saw someone meet up with them, helping the injured YouTuber to her feet. I got it. You guys can hold it off, the man stated simply. Paul's stress is down there too, Cleo explained, her voice sounding spent. I stopped the thing from getting to them. Good. Now come on. We need to get you to safety, the man replied. As Grian watched, the figures started to move towards the tunnel. So did the machine. Grian swallowed as the machine charged towards two individuals, just as an attack came from behind, forcing the thing to abandon its pursuit and locked on its new target. He could see many of his friends now, many of them well equipped to fight, while he could see Mumbo and a few others in back setting up some redstone-related trap as quickly as they possibly could. Get back! Someone shouted as the machine charged forward, swinging its claws about. Think it's targeting you, Scar! One of them shouted as the machine lunged again. Sure enough, the machine swung around another claw. Scar barely missing it by an inch. At least I can distract him for now, so long as I'm fast enough. Scar replied loudly. Come on! Give me what you got! The machine laser hummed again. Preparing to fire, his Grian felt a surge of energy being pulled away as he groaned. Each time the thing attacked, he felt weaker and weaker. He wasn't sure how long he could be able to hold on. It's almost ready, Mumbo shouted from farther back. Try bringing it over. The laser fired and Scar yelped in surprise, rolling out of the way just in time. Maybe not yet, it's still firing. One of us should try to damage the laser, someone declared. That might be a bit dangerous, another retorted. Grian recognized the voice immediately as Xuma. His friends had come together to try to stop this machine, not knowing he was trapped inside. He could see the redstone in the distance, and it appeared to be what appeared to be TNT. Were they planning to blow it up? Would it even work? What would happen to him if the blast came into contact? Would it be slow and painful, or quick and painless? No, he couldn't think about that right now. It's almost ready to go. Try to lead it over. Mumbo hollered, stepping back as Scar obeyed, dodging another laser as he did so. That laser might be able to help us if we can get it close enough. Scar mused thoughtfully. Careful! Xuma shouted back as Grian heard something slam on top of the machine. I'm on! Someone shouted. The machine struggled to figure out what was going on, turning around and backing towards the explosion, struggling to pull whoever it was off. Grian looked up as he heard a metal on metal as light poured into the small hole, big enough for a face to peek through. He does? Grian asked weakly. Glad to have some sort of eye contact. Wait a minute. Vito started before he yelped in surprise, being flung off the machine. Grian hearing a thud not too far away as the machine turned towards the man. It's after you now, Scar stated as he ran over to the fallen YouTuber. You okay there, B-Dubs? I'm fine, B-Dubs said with a groan as he stood. Someone's in there now. There is? Scar asked in confusion as he jumped in front of the YouTuber, hollering at the machine as the machine locked onto him as he booked it, heading this time away from the explosives. Who was it? Did you see? Someone asked. I'm not sure, but we can't blow it up without risking hurting whoever's in there. You sure isn't one of Mr. A's men in there? Someone retorted. Positive, B-Dubs replied confidently. Suddenly, Grian watched as the machine halted in its tracks, no longer chasing Scar around the area. Grian watched as it started to back up towards the explosives. As he realized what was happening, someone had taken control of the machine. They were planning to kill him. Help! Please! They're gonna kill me! Grian yelled as he heard, as hard as he could as he watched helplessly as the machine turned towards the explosives. Later, humming. Please! Someone do something! B-Dubs exclaimed as Grian watched his friends by the redstone running back. B-Dubs, don't! Xuma warned. Grian hearing a clang near the back of the machine just as a laser fired, and Grian screamed, everything fading to complete darkness. The machine was launched back. Clanging noises could be heard, where there was nothing. No pain, no knowing what would happen next. only darkness. I'm going to do this to you guys. Unfortunately, that's going to be the end of this episode. Next episode will be chapters 19 and 20, and well, we'll see. We'll see if we can get there, but yeah, that's basically going to be episode 5. It's the end of episode 4, and I just left you on a cliffhanger. Well, hopefully you didn't see the sneak peek, but I'm not going to reveal anything. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to leave your thoughts, questions, theories, and all the like in the comments below. And I will see you in the next one, whenever that might be.